You know, I often find myself thinking that we're all just like blind kittens lost in a maze. We're always running somewhere, always late, trying to seem more important than we actually are, only to realize in the end that we're just wasting time. Looking at the people around me, I see the same thing, an endless weariness in their eyes, and the fear that their lives are just a collection of random accidents, devoid of any meaning. Sometimes I feel like I'm just the same, a small cog trying to prove its worth, even though deep down I know that tomorrow we could all be forgotten. What's the point of it all? Why wake up every morning if the end of the road is just emptiness? Maybe the meaning isn't in leaving a legacy or changing the world, but in simply refusing to be indifferent to the person walking beside you. We're here to make someone's burden a little lighter, not because we're saints, but because we know what it's like to be lost ourselves. I don't know if we have some grand purpose or if we're just dust in an infinite cosmos. But when I see someone smile, just because you offered a shoulder or said the right word at the right time, it feels like that's the only answer. Perhaps we're only here to keep each other from freezing to death. As long as we can feel another's pain, we're still alive. And honestly, that's probably the most important thing we have. It was past 5 p.m., the height of summer, the kind of weather that's perfect for spending time by the river or deep in the woods. Definitely not for going to a job interview. Yeah, the whole situation felt bizarre, even to me. In fact, everything happening right then felt strange and unusual. But then again, life is a funny thing. What seems weird today can easily become your mundane reality tomorrow. I was sitting at home, just idling. No, it wasn't a money issue. I'd quit my job just the day before and could have happily spent another month rotting on the couch. I had no worries, and certainly no plans to go anywhere. I was just scrolling through job listings when I saw a strange offer. I actually had to strain my last remaining brain cell to make sure it wasn't a joke. But it wasn't. The ad had been posted 5 minutes ago, and I was the first viewer, a fact that would prove true later on. Why did I rush to dial the number? The schedule was a dream. The location was right here in town. And in a city of 300,000, work isn't exactly plentiful, but it isn't scarce either. They were looking for a night watchman for a warehouse located just outside city limits, a mere 30-minute drive from my place. For a single shift, or rather a night, they were offering an unthinkable amount, $830 per night. Of course, I had zero experience as a watchman. I was brilliant at other things, but even I couldn't resist. I quickly dialed the number. I prepared myself for the inevitable, sorry, you don't fit. But after talking to a man who introduced himself as the head of security, I learned a few things. First, I was hired. Second, I'd be paid in the morning. Third, a veteran partner named Max would show me the ropes, and whether I stayed on would depend entirely on him. He was effectively my boss. There were no special requirements, save for one: stay silent. If I couldn't manage that, it would be on my own conscience. Fourth, I could head over immediately. The shift ran from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. I quickly threw a bag together: coffee, sugar, the essentials for a long night. And after letting everyone know where I'd be, I jumped into my car. I was racing toward that warehouse, and my phone had already pinged with Max's number in case he wasn't at the entrance. I opened the door and stepped inside. I hadn't been to facilities like this often, so I wasn't quite sure where to go. But Max appeared from around a corner to greet me. "Good, you're here. Close the door tight and come with me. I'll show you the ropes," said the large man, likely in his 40s. I slid the heavy steel bolt into place. "You've never been here before, have you?" "No." "What's your name?" "Leon." "I'm Max. They probably gave you the pitch. Look, Leon, this job is an absolute cakewalk. I've been here a long time, but let me tell you this. They don't pay you this kind of money because they're generous. They pay you to follow instructions to the letter. All 4 sides. Just like your predecessor, who thought I was trying to scare him or just joking." Max offered a mysterious smile. We walked toward a door, and Max opened it to reveal a guard post, windowless, with a very imposing door. "Get in,
drop your bag." I didn't think twice and tossed it on the floor. The door was immediately locked, and we continued on. "All right, take the flashlight. Yeah, let's hit the warehouse floor. The boss called before you got here. We need to walk down to check the 6th gate." We walked forward, and Max opened the doors leading into the warehouse. He closed them behind us as we entered. The place was fairly well lit from the high ceiling, and I couldn't help but whistle at the sheer scale of the place. First time in a warehouse? Yeah, never been. It's huge. It has everything. Runs all day, dead at night. What about this? Are there no cameras to watch the gates?
"There are, but cameras aren't a cure-all," he said with a grin as we walked. "See, when I first started, I couldn't figure out why there were so few guards, or why they didn't work the night shift. Usually, warehouses run 24/7, because the faster you ship, the more you make. But then, let me just tell you the history of this place. It was built fast. Nothing special, just a warehouse. They brought in goods, hired people, and everything was fine until strange things started happening with the night shift. At first, no one believed it. People said it was just drunk employees seeing things. Then, when they started pulling pieces of bodies out, the laughter stopped. At night, in this warehouse, you can see demons, spirits, ghosts, and even dead relatives. Yeah, it's all here. People were killed by the dozen. An order picker leans into a slot for some cargo, something pulls them under the racks and tears them apart. It happens most often in the low traffic aisles, the ones after the 12th gate. He walked up to the 6th gate, tried to open it, but it wouldn't budge. He said we'd check the special storage section next. It was the largest part of the warehouse, mostly leased space for long-term storage, and people rarely went there. That's where it started. One person vanished, just disappeared. Then a second. When they found the mangled body, the warehouse almost got shut down. Inspections everywhere, cameras crammed into every corner, but it didn't help. The next body was found dead, but completely intact, the very next day. What killed them, no one knows. But I can tell you this, in those aisles, silver turns black, starts to rot, and withers away. The pickers grab their stuff and run. They avoid going in there. One guy said his late brother was calling him from behind the racks, and hairy hands grabbed him and almost dragged him under. I've seen demons jumping across the high beams like they were on vines. A pallet of canned goods almost landed on the 5th guy. I saw those creatures shove it off. Why? No one knows. But the quiet moments grew fewer over time. The night shifts would quit in droves. Eventually, they decided the warehouse was too valuable to close, so they moved to a daytime-only operation. The day staff is packed tight, but at night, it's just us two. We walked back into the guard post. I sat on the sofa, and Max took his place at the console. "But look, it's not all fun and games here. You're lucky, though. I know most of their tricks. We have a set schedule of what to do, when, and how. There are mandatory events and situational ones. Look, at 9 p.m., one of us has to leave the post and walk to the rack. It's only 30 meters away, or under the gate. You walk out, set a cup of water anywhere on the rack, and run back as fast as you can. Get into the corridor, bolt the door, and lock it. Why? Because every night, or rather every evening, someone starts pounding on the warehouse door. It's a missing order picker. He bangs on the door so hard you'd think you'd go deaf. At first, they thought he'd been found. They'd open the door, and believe me, there was nothing there, just emptiness. You close it, and he starts pounding again, screaming, "I'm thirsty!" It turned out that's where he vanished. That's why we bring the water. Though once there was a similar case where they opened the door and the missing man was standing there. And not only that, he left the building, even though he'd been gone for 2 months. Where was he? No one knows. He'd been buried for 2 months, then just showed up on a Wednesday night and was let out. They say his gaze was impossible to endure, sunken eyes. He'd seen what was beyond the veil and managed to come back. They say he didn't last long, wandered around for 2 weeks and that was it. You'd think people would be happy, but they weren't. He terrified everyone with his horrific revelations. Also, regarding movement, make it a habit to close everything. Even if you're stepping away for a minute, bolt every latch, every lock. They don't come into the guard post, but if a door is left open, they'll be scraping you off the floor. If something starts, no matter where you're going, even to use the bathroom, lock everything. Doors have a sacred role here. Locked means locked. Even if something is trying to push through with enough force to fold the door, it can't, because it's a locked door and it simply can't pass. Always lock the doors. All right, our next stop is the offices. I hate that place. It's hard to get through peacefully. I've never had it happen. The door next to us leads to the second floor. Your task is simpler than it seems. Walk to the end of the hall, jiggle the last door, say out loud that no one is there, and walk back without looking behind you. I'll tell you why when you go, but that won't be until after midnight. There will be a hum. People walking in the dark, talking, typing, clicking keyboards, arguing, slurping coffee. But something is wrong with them. You'll see they're bloodthirsty, and it's all a performance for you. They'll ask you things, maybe even try to scream or intimidate you, but just keep walking. Don't pay attention, even though there's a lot to pay attention to. The things they do in that corridor, it's pure madness. But when you pull that door at the end and say the words out loud, believe me, they'll vanish. They'll truly cease to exist. What if you don't go? What if you just sit here? Why are we here at all? Because you can't leave the facility unstaffed. They tried that once. No guards for a night. By morning, all the doors were ripped off their hinges, and some of the stock was gone. So they decided to keep at least 2 people on shift, paying them well for a normal schedule. You cannot leave the premises empty. And you know what else you can't do? What is strictly forbidden? Leaving. There's so much here, but I won't scare you just yet, so you don't run off like your predecessor. So in short, nothing appears out of nowhere. The creatures mostly rage on the warehouse floor, so don't stare at the cameras. Sometimes they'll stare back and try to scare you. Fear is their favorite thing. If they smell even a drop of it, they'll amplify it and push harder. I'm not afraid of them, and they've gotten used to me. They know I don't care, and that it's pointless. These aren't all our duties, but don't think I'm going to baby you. You'll have to experience it all yourself. If you stay on and take another job on the side, you'll need this knowledge. See for yourself. It's a dream job. $830 a night. No one pays like that. If you set the mysticism aside a little. It's easy to say that when you know everything. Yeah, well, you'll learn too. Don't worry. I'll guide you through all the horror you're about to see, he said. I looked him in the eye and realized the man's nerves were thicker than steel cables. I tried to change the subject, still thinking in the back of my mind that he was joking, that the devil wasn't as black as he was painted. But as we sipped our tea, time inexorably marched toward 9 p.m. Well, Leon, ready? Grab the glass of water, go to the rack, and remember the doors. All right, go on. I took the glass, the keys, the radio, and a headlamp. They told me I could keep the lights on, but it was better not to. It makes them think there are lots of people around and their activity spikes. So guards walk with flashlights. Go on, quickly. The faster you get there and finish the job, the faster you get back. I started moving, reached the warehouse door, opened it, stepped in and shut it. Turn right, find the racks marked with letters. I started walking across the warehouse, which was lying in wait like a cat playing with a mouse. My steps were very loud. A small but hollow echo caught them and carried them through the facility. It was quiet, deathly quiet, and that was what scared me. The absolute silence in such a massive space. The rack slots looked like tombs, containing long decayed bones, and the dense darkness only fueled the illusion. Stop thinking. Don't give it a reason. Just get there and run back. Easy for him to say. I reached the rack, placed the cup, and flew back like a bullet. I heard nothing.
No noise, no cracking, but I felt it coming. Whatever it was, I knew I had to get out of there. I took off like an athlete. My sixth sense gave me a kick, providing the motivation to get away from the unseen. I reached the door, bolted it, locked it, and strode toward the post. In the dark, ahead, in the corridor, I saw something strange, but I pretended I hadn't. The door was opened for me, and I collapsed onto the couch. Know why you had to run? When I set the cup down, on the camera in the far corner, a strange person ran toward me out of nowhere. He was very tall, moved in a weird, fast way. I couldn't have outwalked him. You had to run. Who is that? I asked, feeling cold, staring at the screens. Death, if you don't manage to get away, Max replied calmly, lifting his mug.
I was ready for more news, waiting to learn things as they came, but for now, tea. Even the tea wasn't entirely calm. Max sat there, spinning in his chair, telling me stories. Let me tell you something, Leon. This job is actually simple if you're a calm person. If you can control your emotions and not panic. That's everything. I've learned one thing in my life. Don't fuss, don't panic, just do your work in silence and everything will be fine. Don't worry about the mysticism. Yeah, it's creepy. At first you have nightmares at home, you wake up screaming, but after a couple of shifts, you'll start wondering if it's worth it, or if you should look for a normal job. But it's like a disease. The management will raise your pay. They don't pay much at first, just 9, then more. Work a month and they'll pay up. And if you find a second job, it's a total dream. But there's one nuance. If you stay here, you won't want to give it up. Why? What pulls you? I'm hooked, and so are the old-timers from other shifts. We're all desperate to stay. I've lost count of how many people have disappeared or died here. Why? I don't know. I can't imagine myself without this nightmare. Speaking of, do you know what's truly scary here? If you pass that, you'll be fully initiated as a guard. I've noticed that after that, everything else is just a walk in the park. Wait, I'll tell you later. Get up. We're going to the 3rd floor of the offices together. What do I have to do? Shut up. Just shut up. Follow me. I'll do everything myself. You just stay silent and don't turn around. Got it? If something happens, die in silence. Don't drag me down with you. We got up and went to the 3rd floor. It was pitch black. Doors were standing wide open, and in the corridor stood a person in a hooded robe with long claws, pale skin showing from under the garment, watching us. Max walked ahead. I followed, and that vampire thing drifted along right beside me. Well, new guy, commendable. Max, look at you. You've got a new one. We walked in silence, and he trailed behind us. Guys, why so quiet? Look at the nature, the weather. Isn't it the perfect time to die? I don't think I could find a better offer. I jumped in place, but I kept my mouth shut. Did you say something? Do you want to be my friend? Well, go ahead, say it again. I walked, feeling my blood turn to ice. That thing reeked of the grave. Though, what kind of person was he? He was a bloodsucker. Oh, there was a time when idiots worked here. I remember when the warehouse first opened. So much blood, so many souls devoured. You're missing out. Eternity and torment and wandering in the dark. Such a waste, he said, and then vanished. We entered an office where a computer was running. A skeleton sat in front of the monitor, and at the end of the room was a horrific, hulking... I froze for a second. It moved toward me. Max walked up, grabbed the mouse, turned off the computer, spun around, and pulled me by the arm. As we walked out into the corridor, we heard a strange sound. A pressure change, faint but heavy on the ears. Once we shut the door to the floor, Max began. Good job. Didn't flinch. You've got the nerves. I thought you'd shriek. Who was that? A ghoul. He always lived on the 3rd floor, hanging around at night, drinking blood for a while. He's pretty useless. But believe me, the moment you make a mistake, he'll tear you apart. And by morning, your body will be dragged downstairs.
And in the office? I don't know. A skeleton just appears in front of the screen. And at the back of the room, there's something else. Sometimes a girl. It's terrifying. Sometimes a ghost. You just have to turn off the computer and leave. That's the whole job. But the second floor is even more nerve-wracking. By the way, in 20 minutes, you're going there alone. Listen, what if I don't go?
You have to calm them down. You have to tell them they aren't there. If you don't, they'll start breaking into our post, and they'll tear this door off its hinges. In front of our door stood the shadow of a person. Max and I froze in silence. The shadow, which didn't dissipate under the flashlight, kept standing there and jiggling the handle. We waited in silence for 5 minutes. It stood by the door, then wandered off into the corridor toward the warehouse. We slipped into the guard post. What was that? A spirit? Dark shadows that don't dissipate, those are spirits. That's what we call them anyway. A terrifying thing. They seem harmless, but they aren't. They usually don't attack, but if they want to, you can't hide from them anywhere. You know why? They say those are former guards. They know our schedule too. If you insult them or piss them off, it's a gift, and you'll disappear on the next shift. Why didn't it attack? They're generally neutral. They walk by memory. Sometimes they show up, stand by the door according to their schedule, or appear beside you and walk along. The main thing is not to give them a reason to bother you. Don't yell at them, don't talk to them. They just do something and leave. But if you start crossing yourself or praying, they'll kill you. It's the truth. Yeah, you might drive them away, but they'll remember you and take revenge. All right, let's have some tea. Then you go to the second floor. I'll watch the cameras to make sure you're okay. Look, are the gates open? No, they're closed. See the sensor? The green light on the panel? Red means open, green means closed. Don't trust the cameras too much. They show such movies sometimes that you lose your mind. On dark holidays, we turn the monitors off. It's better not to see what they're doing. Right, everything's clear. Nothing complicated. Walk up, stay silent, walk calmly to the end, jiggle the door, say no one's there, and walk back. Hurry, and you'll do it right. Easy for you to say just go. I guess I have to start somewhere. Go on, take the radio if anything happens. I quickly reached the stairs, closed the door, and as I climbed to the second floor, I heard office noise. Phones ringing, people walking, girls laughing. You'd think they were actually working. I walked to the door to the floor, opened it, and all the noise stopped. A second later, it started again, but different, quieter. I walked calmly down the corridor, past people standing in the dark. They wandered from office to office, just standing and staring at me. They looked like normal people, but I could feel the hostility emanating from them. And the darkness. There was something wild about it all. People walking and working in the dark. I walked past them, ignoring their gazes. There were all kinds of eyes. Hate, interest, desire. All kinds of things. But always something elusive, cruel, and predatory. The closer I got to the end of the hall, the stranger the things I saw in the offices, and the stranger the requests they whispered to me. "Why are you going that way? Your door is here," said a very beautiful girl. So beautiful it was unsettling. She stood there, beckoning me into the darkness of an open office door. "Leon, remember you once promised we'd be friends forever? Well, the time has come to keep that promise," said my dead friend Victor from the left. He died in a car crash. I kept walking. There was nothing dangerous about this job. Just following the rules would keep me alive. These people aren't real. They're all dead. They don't exist. Maybe they're ghosts. Maybe something else, but they don't dare touch me. Yet. Someone was walking behind me. Steps. In 5 paces, he was already breathing down my neck, almost stepping on my heels. I felt his hot, fast, nervous breath. "Help me," he wailed behind me. My heart skipped a beat, but I didn't flinch.
somehow, but I didn't even change my pace. The steps behind me vanished. A horrific feeling. I reached the door, grabbed a handle, and said loudly, "There is no one here."
I turned around, and it was true. Nobody. It was just a dark office corridor, all doors closed, no people in the dark. There truly was no one there. Even the scent of perfume, which had felt cloyingly sweet, vanished. Just like I said, I walked back much more calmly and returned to the guard post without issue. Good work, especially the moment it got behind you. It? Are you sure? Yeah, I want to know what was breathing down my neck. He showed me, but not my recording, a different one. A horrific, multi-armed thing. That's what it looked like. Claws, tattered rags. It puts on this show on the floor. At least, that's what it seems like to us. Or maybe it's just one of the few inhabitants of that floor. Every shift has its own opinions. Has anyone ever tried to get rid of it all? They've tried. They say it doesn't work well. 2 or 3 days of silence, and then it's worse than before. They get angry when you try to get rid of them. We have no more mandatory tasks for tonight, only situational. Damn, I thought when I got hired I'd be sleeping and sitting around. You can't sleep. Why? You'll lose your mind. Sleep at home or on the street, but not here. Where does all this come from? Where do all these creatures come from? Was it built on a cemetery? Yes and no. They say in ancient times there was a grove here. Silent people, they say, practiced something in these woods. They even had their own cemetery where they buried their own. What they were doing isn't clear, but the creatures and terrors roamed the surroundings, especially near that settlement. Years passed, and the cemetery? Gone. I guess that's what pisses them off. These were just legends. And who listens to legends when there's this much money? The warehouse fit the bill. Everything is convenient. But they say they're going to move the warehouse so they can operate 24/7. Management finds it a burden. It brings in money, but they want to stop using it. It's amazing anyone works here at all. During the day, like I said, there's nothing. It's just a place, not worse or better than others. It's only at night, and even then, mostly on the warehouse side. Look, on the cameras, you could see the warehouse was full of people and different horrific creatures. They walked between the racks, doing something, sometimes glancing at the cameras. What are they doing? I don't know, just being, walking, howling, shuffling, nothing special. They might call out, but that's it. You know, Max, I've lived my whole life. I didn't necessarily not believe in mysticism, but in one day, to see so much, I don't know why, but I'm sitting here and perceiving it as normal, almost. I thought I'd be shocked, but here? This? I didn't tell you right away, but I will now. You have every chance of working here until the warehouse is moved, and here's why. When new guys come, the place changes them. Not just in terms of perceiving mysticism, but as people. Some start laughing like lunatics and disappear. Others end up in hysterics. Why? Some get scared and can't be pried off the couch. It's rare, extremely rare, that someone behaves like you. We even have rules. If you manage to carry the water to the rack, you'll probably live until morning. If you walked across the floor, you have every chance to work here. Now, of course. Wait, this isn't good. What is it? Max opened the fridge, pulled out a piece of meat, and put it on a plate. Let's go. We have to feed it. This is a trial, even for me. We went out the door and started walking the other way, past the exit, down a long corridor to the opposite end. The sound comes from the closet. There's nothing surprising about it. You could tear the door off, but at night, once every 3 or 4 months, when this howl erupts, you have to go to this closet and feed it. Put the plate of meat in front of the door and leave. What's the danger? Don't open the door. You'll want to climb into that closet. You'll want so badly to get in there, even though it's small and you wouldn't even fit. You'll want to become part of that closet and go where the door leads. And from the closet flows a strange light, so soft, so pleasant. Try not to look at it, or you'll stand there hypnotized. And after the meat, it will crawl out and eat you.
What is it?
I don't know. No one knows. It just makes that sound and you have to feed it. It devours the chicken or whatever and leaves us alone for a long time. If you don't feed it, it crawls out and comes for us, and then we become the meat, Max said, sounding concerned as he opened the door. It was a workshop, ordinary, with wrenches, equipment, and so on. The closet stood against the wall, a standard gray iron cabinet. A bright, blinding light poured from it. My soul felt something. I wanted to spit on everything, open the door, and crawl inside. That light promised everything: joy, peace, euphoria, and fun. And here was this damn door in the way. The desire to open it was incredibly strong. I even scratched my hand and started bleeding, trying to hold back. Max more timidly walked to the closet, placed the plate of meat, and with immense effort managed to turn and walk past me. I stood there thinking, it's a crime to turn away from this light. It's impossible. It's not real. My legs wanted to run to the closet. I turned my back to it, and the obsession vanished. I walked a few steps and reached the corridor where Max was waiting. 17 minutes. What? 17 minutes. That's how long you stood after I left, staring at the closet. Don't lie. You walked away and I was right there a minute later. Nope. 17 minutes. When you look at that light, you lose track of time. You stand there like a dummy staring. We tried it once. We stood in the room for about an hour. I looked at my watch and shuddered. Max was right. Let's go. After the closet, the night is usually quiet. I doubt anything serious will happen today. What is that closet? What's the light? One of the first guards said it was the closest to paradise, like heavenly light. That's why you lose your mind looking at it, thinking about how cool it is. But there's a catch. That's what he says. What it actually is, no one knows. But in any case, the living don't get into heaven. You're going to die sooner or later. My opinion? It's some very powerful, horrific thing, and that light is a magnet to pull in victims. Like anglerfish. The fish looks at the glowing lure and chomp. That's it. It's the same here. You didn't see, but if you stand there long enough, a huge, horrific claw reaches out of the closet, takes the food inside, and the light vanishes. Anyway, that was the hardest part of the job. If you handled that, this job is definitely yours. Yeah, mine. I barely got away. Most don't walk away at all. They break into the closet, and that's it. They're gone. The first time is very difficult. The second, third, fourth, it doesn't cloud your head as much. You resist it more easily. So stay, kid. You fit in here. They paid me in the morning. They asked me not to talk too much about what I'd seen. As Max and I stepped outside, he asked, "So, should I expect you for the next shift? If you refuse, I'll understand." You know, don't ask. I think I'll work here. I've already seen a lot, and for some reason, it doesn't seem like a big wow anymore. Cool, but not wow. All right then. See you next shift.